Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Undercurrent. I'm Christy Monica. Well, looks like the weather has certainly taken a turn for the better this week. Let's hope it stays that way. Well, first up on tonight's show, we have a new reporter making his debut appearance tonight here on Undercurrent. Tom Zornmeyer takes a look at the Noongar Sovereign March.
The Native Titles Act has been a contentious issue for decades. As a new agreement between the state government and the Southwest Aboriginal Land and Sea Council gains momentum, many in the Noongar community have taken to the streets of Perth in protest.
The rally is against a proposal that would see the native title rights of the Noongar community scrapped in return for customary rights on Crown land, joint management of national parks, recognition of traditional ownership and various other benefits. Black areas in these images represent where the Noongar people can practice or would be able to practice customary rights.
The Southwest Aboriginal Land and Sea Council was set up to represent the interests of the Noongar people and give them a united voice. Why are you protesting against them today?
Well, because we've got to remember that all land councils are statutory bodies set up by the government. So they're not there to truly represent our people. We never gave them the right, we never gave them the authority to speak on behalf of our people. And our elders have continually given them evidence of genealogy, evidence of the boundaries, evidence of our, maintaining our culture and our connection to our country. And the Swalts aren't listening. And they're disrespecting very important elders, which we don't agree with. And it's very wrong for the CEO to continue to promote something that's not going to benefit our people. And the majority of our people don't support it and don't want it. And it's just wrong that they can think that they can represent us because the government put legislation in place to create the body in the first place.
Colin Barnett continues to ignore what we're saying and wants to continue to tear up the country and do what he wants. We're just here to make a little stand and let him know that we're not going away. We're still here, we're still fighting, and it's not going to stop until he takes the time to listen to what we have to say.
Yeah, well, they're truly not there for the people, because if you look at the reasons they were set up to manage native title land, to manage land under native title, etc. So they're bound by legislation, right? Their allegiance is to the legislation that brought them about in the first place. So how can they truly represent us when we haven't asked them to? And they're not listening to our people, so how can someone who's not listening to the people represent the people?
So the state government, have outlined several benefits of the proposal you're fighting, including land, recognition, rights and joint management of national parks. What are the negative aspects?
Well, basically they're dictating to us. Like, who are they to tell us what to do? We're the sovereign people of this country and they need to recognise that. Colin Barnett and the state government have been served with the papers and they know. Barnett failed to rebut the notice, and all the sections and clauses that we put in there regarding our people. So how can something that is dictated to us benefit us when we don't want it in the first place? Who are they to tell us that we can joint manage land with them? Like, we totally control the land. This is, we belong to the land. We can't just give it up and give it away because it belongs to the future generations.
Exactly. And I'm an Aboriginal health worker, and the stuff what I learned during my studies is we need the land as well for healing, as well, for our health, our spiritual well-being.
We don't need their permission under native title to do what we want on our land. If we want to go somewhere, we just do it. If a ranger comes up to us in a national park telling us we can't have our fire, we tell him to go along, because they don't have the right to tell us. So that's all our people have to do, is just act sovereign. Stick to our culture, keep doing what we have to do, ignore the legislation that's there, because when it comes to our cultural activities, no one has the right to dictate to us. The spirits of the Dreamtime gave us, what we have today. And it's our birthright to walk these lands the way that our ancestors and old people did. And in order to honour the strengths and sufferings of their history, we have to honour our cultural obligation, protect our spiritual dreaming, and just practice our culture when we have to.
Whatever the outcome of this amendment to Indigenous land rights, it is sure to have far-reaching implications throughout the West Australian Indigenous population.
I'm Tom Zornmeyer, reporting for Undercurrent.
Well, next up on the show, Ivan Long is back on our screens, and this time he's having a chat with Perth MP John Hyde.
Do you support keeping jobs in WA and building new industries for the future? We need WA jobs from WA Resources.
Why should Perth vote for you as a MP?
Oh, I think people in Perth want somebody who's going to be independent and stand up for what their priorities as residents are, first of all. Whether you're in government or out of government, they want somebody local who's able to put the views and the needs of residents first. I think it's really important doesn't matter how many candidates are standing against you, that you have to have been working for 4 years, and the people in this electorate are well informed, they've got strong opinions, and they'll make their mind up. Law and order issues have been very, very important. If we look back to the late 90s, what was really happening in Northbridge then. And if we actually compare to today, the real picture about how safe the area has become in comparison, and a number of people that are moving into the area. So previously we had parts of Northbridge and parts of the inner city that were very much just entertainment zones or no-go areas. Now people want to live here, but they also want a safe environment. They also want a place that they're proud of. Now, the one contract that the Barnett government have got signed with Elizabeth Quay will be to give off part of the heritage listed Esplanade for Chevron to build an office tower. There won't be any beautiful quay with little swans or jet skis or a public open space. It's about looking after business developers rather than looking after the needs of rural residents. Well, I actually believe in continuous campaigning. I think people in the CBD electorate, they know if somebody just turns up 6 months before an election, and they'll be polite and nod. And I think that also goes with a lot of the communities, be it the Chinese community, a lot of the ethnic communities. I look at over the 4 years, and I've been going to so many of the Chunghwa and other Chinese community events, and next year we'll have Chinese New Year during the election campaign, so there'll be politicians there from everywhere, but I think the Chinese community knows who's been supporting them for 4 years.
John Hart, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ivan.
Well, next up on Undercurrent, Jackie O'Leary took to the streets of Perth and things got a little bit racy. She wanted to know if you think that watching porn from an early age has an effect on people. Well, let's find out what you thought.
Porn is more readily available than ever before, but does it shape a teenager's view towards women and relationships? Can it be damaging to a young person?
It's out of control, let's be honest, but and it's just, but the cat's out of the bag, so what can you do? You can't stick it back in.
Young people aren't getting to grow up in a normal environment, and it's all, put in their face, and they don't have a choice, and they seem to take on that type of lifestyle, and it affects them later on in life.
Do you think it can be damaging to future relationships with young guys watching porn excessively from teenagers?
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will actually rewire their brain in a certain visual aspect and say that's normal, but that's actually a money maker, isn't it?
Yeah, it probably would, It probably would, yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, it's like anything, it's, if it becomes the norm or becomes acceptable, you think, oh, it's all well and good, this is where it's at, so.
Do you think some of the blame falls on parents not monitoring their kids' online activity?
As always, I believe that is some of the fault. They should be more educated when they hop onto a computer, basically, before they see what is on there and that they can get access to.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of feel wrong saying it because I'm all for freedom on the internet and all this sort of stuff, but, there's too much crazy shit out there.
I do think that how they're brought up, that their parents can have an effect on, you know, like many things, learn to say no to smoking, learn to say no to porn.
But I don't know how they're actually going to do it, because they're all hide in their rooms and have their computers, so I don't know how they would be able to control it, unless there's filters, which I don't know about. Yeah.
So you think that's something that parents should look into, getting filters for their kids' computers?
Yes, they should.
We don't need to see it on TV, they don't need to see it online, because then they're going to think, oh, well, let's go do that. Let's go get our girlfriend pregnant.
I think it's important for us to distinguish to our children the difference between pornography and real life.
Yeah, for sure, but we should be sitting down our children and having informed discussions with them about a lot of things, but a lot of us don't, you know, because it's kind of embarrassing, or whether it's drugs or porn or violence or whatever, you know, we should be sitting, and most, you know, the majority of parents do, but there's a hell of a lot of shit parents out there that really haven't got a clue and don't really care.
We live in a society where the culture of porn is ever present. As parents, though, we need to talk with our children and make sure they understand the difference between pornography and real life, and make sure that they're mature enough to make informed decisions when it comes to relationships and their attitudes towards women. This has been Jackie O'Leary reporting for Undercurrent.
Well, time for a quick ad break here on Undercurrent. See you again very soon.
Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.